Paranormal Playback is a podcast where we recap the spooky and entertaining world that is paranormal reality TV. We are hosted by Acast. Warning: Paranormal Playback contains amusing stories about bros, hair gel, and we suspect Axe body spray, as well as dark stories, which may include suicide, pregnancy loss, abortion, sexual assault, and murder. It is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hello to all of our shadowlings. How are you, little people, today? Not little. Oh my god, I'm going to do that again.
It'd be different if we didn't just talk about little people.
I know. All right. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Charlie Holly, and I am joined tonight, wherever you are in time and space.
In the Shadowverse.
By Lauren Sanders.
And Mel.
Lauren, this is a podcast, so pointing. Your finger guns are not.
If there were ever a point that could be heard, though, it'd be Lauren's.
It would be Lauren's silent finger guns.
Hey there.
Oh my god, how are you guys doing this week? You guys, not the shadow people. They can't respond, as we know.
I'm doing good.
Doing all right. I think I got a little throat tickle. Not gonna lie, but it's been raining a lot here in.
You're gonna make it,
Atlanta. I think I'm gonna make it, guys. I think I'm gonna make it.
You're gonna make it.
So I don't know if it's just my allergies or.
Yeah.
Probably
allergies.
My little petri dishes I have running around my home. Yeah. Little ankle biter. Is that wrong? Should I not call her an ankle biter?
She's a really cute ankle biter.
I said that the other day and I was like, is there
like a sexual innuendo?
Is there something I shouldn't? Is there a reason I shouldn't be saying that?
She's an adorable ankle biter, though.
She is. She's so close to walking.
Lena's gonna grow up and be like, my mother called me an ankle biter when I was a child.
I know. Well, she's just so quiet, and like I look down, and she's just kind of following us around at our ankles. So,
aww. Did you guys have a good Mother's Day?
Yes.
Yeah.
I requested to have a day like before I had children. Which was
I mean, isn't that what we want? I think people forget that it's about mothers and not about the children.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I requested to just sleep in and maybe read a book, maybe take another little nap and work on the podcast a little. And I initially wanted to paint my greenhouse, which Wright was like, "This is what you want to do?" I was like, "Yes, I want to do all the things that are made quite difficult by the children,
by having children around." Yeah.
So it was raining, so I couldn't do anything in the garden, but I did kind of just like lounge in bed, and Wright and Banks made me some cinnamon rolls and coffee, and
oh my god.
Oh yeah, I saw that you're kind of having like breakfast in bed.
So yeah, it was nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, next year if I am a mother, I'm going to be like, how about I have the day alone?
Yeah, there is this whole thing about, have you heard this, Lauren, about like moms in the trenches versus like veteran moms is kind of what they call them, and how Mother's Day is obviously for all mothers, right? Mm-hmm. We all love our mothers. However, there are mothers who are on active duty, and there are mothers who are not on active duty, kind of, so to speak. And a lot of people, I think, who want the day alone are having to factor in their own mothers or mother-in-laws because of the expectation. And it's like, hey, you have Grandparents' Day now.
Should we?
Let's make that about you. And yeah, there's a lot of like hot debate about the trenches versus the veterans.
Just as a reminder, I know we mentioned this, but we're going to be taking a planned hiatus. Apparently, there are more episodes in this season than we had realized. And so I guess
I'm pretty sure that's my fault. But I read it on Reddit So some user on Reddit.
There's misinformation on the internet in general. Like when I Googled how long this season was, season 29 of Ghost Adventures, I could not get a straight answer. So it wasn't until I went on Rotten Tomatoes that I was able to find it.
Thank you, Rotten Tomatoes.
Well,
Frog. Hi, Froggy
I know,
Frog.
it's just...
Oh, yes, that's my little frog friend. He'll go to bed soon.
The nocturnal frog will go to
The
bed.
nocturnal frog will go to bed at night.
They do their ribbiting at certain times of the night.
Yeah.
And then they just go away. I don't know. But yes, so we're going to be taking our hiatus and we will be back at the beginning of July. Again, if you can, please rate, review, and subscribe if you like what we're talking about here. If you want to get in on the action, you can hit us up on IG and TikTok. Tell us how you're feeling. And if you want to give us ghost stories, please do that by either DMing us, emailing us at paranormalplaybackpod@gmail.com, or calling us at 404-981-4533.
You can also respond to one of our social posts where we were asking for ghost stories. If you want to respond in the comments there, those are still up as well.
Yes, you can. I will just say that if you try to leave your ghost story in the comments on TikTok, which has a limit,
yeah, it does
make
get
it very
long.
challenging.
It does get long.
But we still appreciate them. So
Absolutely.
Tell us your stories. Yes. But tonight we're going to be recapping Ghost Adventures Season 29, Episode 4, Abandoned at Whiskey Pete's, which I did not enjoy very much.
The whole episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
I actually wrote at the very end of my notes this episode was kind of boring.
I was just bored. I was like,
Oh,
what is even happening? Which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was not into it. So we open in Prim, Nevada, because like we learned last week, Zak does not leave the west side of the country due to his quote unquote fear of flying.
Yeah, I did officially look that up.
You did? Okay,
it
tell
is
us.
because of his fear of flying. Some people were like saying, oh, it's because TSA used to go through their gear and think it was like bombs and shit, and that's why they don't do it, but that's just not true.
Okay. I'm like, really? That sounds so excessive.
He's claustrophobic and has like an extreme fear of dying in a plane crash.
That makes sense because he said twice on this episode that he was like, he looked in the elevator at that one point and says, oh, this makes me feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got it.
So,
I get that.
And apparently he's spoken about it before, his fear of flying.
So Zak tells us, and he was shouting the whole time he's telling us this. He tells us that they're caught in a major windstorm, and of course he's shouting because he's trying to have everybody hear him, but he was just being very loud. And I was like, oh my God, can we like lower his mic or something? And then we see literal footage of sand blowing and tumbleweeds rolling by in Prim, Nevada. Looks like a fun place to go hang out. Apologies to anybody who lives in Prim, Nevada, but I was like, where are we right now? Like, it's not Vegas. It's not Reno. It's like, I've never heard of this place.
Yeah.
Zak explains that there are 3 hotels that make up Prim, Nevada, the oldest being Whiskey Pete's Hotel and Casino. And before Mel dives into this old haunt, I want to just give everybody like a visualization of what Whiskey Pete's looks like. It is made to look like a castle, but like a budget Magic Kingdom or like a medieval times. The face
Stucco.
of Whiskey... Yeah, it was like stucco. The face of Whiskey Pete's leaves something to be desired. The problem is that it looks like there was no branding that was actually put into this hotel. And then around the outside is banner, like a long banner that says words like coffee shop, live games, entertainment, slots. And
which kind of is Vegas, really. It's like a budget Vegas casino.
I was gonna say, because like that's a look, and like you can like lean into that, and but this is like generic Temu Vegas.
Yes, exactly. Thank
It really
you.
is. It really
Like
is.
it's
Definitely
not
Temu Vegas.
Yeah, it doesn't have like any character or like.
That should be our episode title.
It just
Temu Vegas.
it just reminded me so much of when you go to Disney and you see all those souvenir shops that's like, come pet a live gator, or like
Yeah.
get a shot glass, or you can get like those t-shirts that have the big boobs on them.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to help everybody kind of picture what this large, very large castle looked like. But Mel, can you tell us a little bit more about Whiskey Pete's Hotel and Casino and Whiskey Pete himself?
You're darn tootin'. I can do that. All right, on today's episode of This Old Hunt, we're taking you out west to Whiskey Pete's Hotel and Casino, a detailed chronicle. So just some basic location and overview. Charlie kind of told you it's in Primm, Nevada. It opened in 1977 and closed on December 17th, 2024. The owner is Affinity Gaming. The theme is Old West. It has 777 rooms, which is interesting. And it has 34,800 square feet of gaming space.
Isn't 777 something that happens in casinos, like when you hit the
Oh, yes.
jackpot?
It's
You're
the
right. It's the
jackpot.
slot. It's the
You're right. It's
Yeah.
jackpot.
No, what do they call it? It's on a slot machine, but the jackpot.
That's what I said.
Oh, I didn't hear. I'm sorry. I thought you said it's the slot.
No, I said jackpot.
Leave me alone. I have cancer.
I'm surprised that's the first time you've said that.
I know.
Because I would have totally been feeling that one out a lot more.
I always lean on the fact that I'm old. So Mel, it's time for you to lean on the fact that you have cancer.
There we go. Leave me alone. Well,
It's time for you to cash in that card.
that makes I'm shocked I didn't put that together, but All right, so that's cool. Good on them for having 777 rooms. Notable features, weirdly, they have an IHOP, and that's listed as the first notable feature. A swimming pool.
That is their highest feature.
That
is
is
the
a
IHOP?
claim to fame that they have, which is weird when we get into some other things that they have. That's not what I would have put first.
Mhm.
Swimming pool, gift shop, and 4 other restaurants that apparently are not worth mentioning once you hear they have an IHOP. So a bit more historical background. Ernest J. Primm was the founder and established Whiskey Pete's as the first casino in what was then known as State Line, Nevada. They expanded in 1983 a new hotel tower that was added to accommodate the growing patronage. They also added a monorail connection, which was a single-car monorail to connect Whiskey Pete's with the Primm Valley Resort across Interstate 15. However, the tram ceased operations around 2016 for unspecified reasons. I'm guessing it broke and was too expensive to fix.
Or it was haunted.
A haunted monorail. Sounds like a ride. Some notable incidents and crimes are a boy named Alexander Harris case in 1987. They go into this. He was a 7-year-old boy from Mountain View, California. He went missing from the video arcade at Whiskey Pete's in November. The outcome was that his body was discovered a month later off the property. A man named Howard Lee Hopt was arrested but acquitted of all the charges in 1989. And then
That was
A
heartbreaking.
month later?
A month later. Yeah. So, and then there was another case 10 years later. There was a girl named Charisse Iverson who was also 7. She was lured from an arcade into a restroom at Primm Casino where she was sexually assaulted, and then murdered by Jeremy Strommeyer. So the aftermath of this was that this case actually garnered national attention that then highlighted the need for improved child safety measures in casinos. So there is at least a bit of a silver lining to that, where they kind of realized maybe we shouldn't allow the children in the casinos But very, very sad.
I didn't realize children could be in casinos.
They can't anymore.
Yeah.
You have to be 21. Well, I
That's what
guess
I
it depends on the casino, but for the most part, you have to be 21. And then in 2024, there was a casino theft. So George Clooney,
Like heist.
call up your boys, head on down to Prim. It's time. The perpetrators were John and Lydia Salmon, and they were arrested for allegedly stealing over $652,000 in cash, chips, and coins from a casino in Prim. And they were apprehended shortly thereafter. So that is the crime. But, hold on, sorry. Let me get into the paranormal reports and legends. Woo, woo. Okay. The legend of Whiskey Pete. So Pete McIntyre, nicknamed Whiskey Pete, was a gas station owner and bootlegger in the 1920s. He was in State Line, Nevada, which is now Prim. But yeah, in the early 20th century, he ran a small gas station at the Nevada-California state line. At the time, the area was a desolate desert with little traffic, aside from early motorists traveling to and from Vegas or LA. So Pete's gas station struggled to stay afloat, again, early 20th century. According to local legend, he turned to bootlegging moonshine during Prohibition to supplement his income, hence the nickname Whiskey Pete, which I guess whiskey can be a form of moonshine, which I did not know. He reportedly distilled and sold his whiskey out of a shack behind his gas station. It was rudimentary but effective, and the area became known for this underground liquor trade. So there is a bit of a myth behind his death and burial. He died in 1933, the same year Prohibition ended, which is very sad. His final request, as they go into in the show, was to be buried standing up in the desert with a bottle of his moonshine in hand so he could watch over the area. Whether this happened exactly as described is debatable, but it became local folklore. In 1994, during construction of a bridge connecting Whiskey Pete's Casino and Buffalo Bill's Casino, workers reportedly unearthed human remains in a bootlegger-style grave. Many believe this to be Pete himself, buried upright, except he wasn't buried upright. He was reinterred in a crypt on the casino premises, and his legend only grew from there. So this is the quick aside I had, because it connects Whiskey Pete's and Buffalo Bill's, right? This bridge. I thought Buffalo Bill was the dude that like roped tornadoes and shit. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, that's
Who are you thinking of?
That's Paul Bunyan. Is that Paul Bunyan?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, no, wait, I don't know. Like Thor? Like who?
Thor?
I don't know. Who ropes tornadoes?
No, he wrote it's Pecos Bill. The legend of Pecos Bill.
Okay, but Buffalo Bill, to me, I think of Silence of the Lambs.
You think of Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, that's
fava beans.
No.
Yeah, that's Buffalo Bill. That's Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, that was the
He's
name
in Silence of the Lambs?
That was the name of the killer.
That's a serial
in Silence
killer.
of the
So Buffalo Bill is a real person. Pecos Bill is not. Anyway, he did not ride tornadoes. Like I was mixing him up. Anywho, so when the Prim family built a themed casino on the land in 1970,
Quinceañera.
a quinceañera, Whiskey Pete's quinceañera, he brought some moonshine and watched over the whole party. So they named it Whiskey Pete's as an homage to the area's colorful past and Pete's bootlegging lore.
See, they called him Whiskey Pete because Moonshine Pete doesn't have the same ring to it.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
You know?
Yep. So Whiskey Pete became the unofficial mascot of outlaw Americana in the desert. His name lent a rustic, rebellious charm that fit well with, Old West theme of the resort, Nevada's frontier, and the mystique of ghost stories, buried bodies, and desert legends. As far as the paranormal tie-ins,
I like how he's like, bury me upright, and they're like,
so he can watch over.
They didn't do it.
Yeah, and they didn't do it. They're like, yeah, how are they going to ever know that we buried you upright?
I know in the show they said it was him, but I couldn't find that it was proven to be Whiskey Pete
Yeah.
that they found.
I don't know why they.
I mean, they said it was though.
They did. Yeah, they flat out said it was him, but they lie a lot.
Yeah, I don't doubt that maybe they think it's him, but he wasn't found. There was no moonshine with this man. There was no, as far as I know, there was not anything to really indicate it was Pete, other than he was buried in the area. But I don't know. I'm happy to be proven wrong there, but yeah.
I do think it's funny that he's like, bury me upright. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Do you know how hard it is to dig a hole?
Oh my God.
Like,
straight down.
Yeah.
Straight
down.
down.
To dig it 12 feet down.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not going to do that, dude. We're going to just bury you like a normal person.
Yeah. And
you're never going to know.
Prohibition just ended. We're not going to waste that whiskey on you. What?
Yeah.
No. We'll drink to you.
And you're never going to know.
Never going to know. So, some paranormal tie-ins in the casino. Some reports included unexplained cold spots in the lobby, footsteps in the gift shop late at night, and then whiskey bottles falling off shelves with no apparent cause. So,
earthquakes.
Not that
poor ventilation.
Crazy. There also have been a few other hauntings reported. There's apparently a craps table apparition. An observer reported seeing figures in old Western attire near the craps table, which then transformed into modern day clothing before vanishing. Which, to me, sounds like somebody had a little bit too much to drink. And maybe it was Western night at the casino.
What?
I've never actually heard of that happening with an apparition.
They changed their clothes.
Like it transforming.
Well, it reminds me of the Riddle House when the guy was like, they were wearing Victorian clothes. And I was like, wait, dude, this wasn't even in Victorian era. Why would they be wearing that? I mean.
And I was like, it was just people doing a reenactment. Like,
yeah. But go ahead.
Sorry, and how long has the casino been vacant for?
What? Since December
of this year.
Of last year, yeah, it closed.
Okay.
Another thing is Bonnie and Clyde's car, which I don't think they even talked about in the show. A visitor felt an unexplained push on their shoulder.
Sorry, back up. What about Bonnie and Clyde's car?
Bonnie and Clyde's car. So my research got really interesting. I kept being like, why was this there? What is the tie with Bonnie and Clyde? And I was like, what is the tie with Buffalo Bill in Nevada? What is the tie to this area and having this really big deal of a thing there?
Yeah.
So between I don't know the year they got Bonnie and Clyde's car.
But are people, they have the car there?
So Bonnie and Clyde's bullet-riddled car that they were killed in was displayed in the lobby of Whiskey Pete's until COVID. And they relocated the vehicle to Buffalo Bill's resort in late 2022, where it remains on display. So they just popped it over to the other side of the street. But apparently it came with Clyde's riddled shirt. But it sat in this glass box in the lobby, and people would come look at it and be like, why is this here? I don't know. But it really drew tourists in was the reason that I got
I'm fascinated. I'm like,
so that I did. Not to be like, this whole haunt is taking over, but there's a lot of random things at this place that I felt kind of needed a little bit of an explanation. So Bonnie and Clyde between 1932 and 1934 were known for a violent string of bank robberies, gas station holdups, and murders across the U.S. during the Great Depression. They were ambushed by police in 1934 in Louisiana, nowhere near.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I didn't think they were on the West Coast at all.
That was my thing too. It's what's their connection to this area?
And what about Buffalo Bill? Where was he?
Not in Nevada.
Yeah.
But they were driving a stolen 1934 Ford V8, which was riddled with over 100 bullets during the ambush, and they all died. And then it sat Can you imagine being Bonnie and Clyde and dying in this like stolen car in Louisiana, and then the car you died in is then displayed in this weird ass casino in the middle of nowhere in Nevada?
I don't know. Like,
do you think there are ghosts with the car?
There was only one real thing that they mentioned that I found in my research about the car, and it was somebody felt an unexplained push on their shoulders standing near the car.
Oh. Which could have been anything. Like, that could have been any, even if it was a ghost, it could have been any ghost. It doesn't necessarily mean.
Yeah, but they never, Bonnie and Clyde never committed any crimes anywhere near Nevada.
Right.
It just fit into their wider theme of outlaw Americana was kind of what I gathered. And then finally, the property closed December 17th of 2024. And all of the investments went to their other properties, and they moved the casino artifacts and such over to not Pecos Bill. I keep wanting to say Pecos Bill. And yeah. Oh, and then I tried to look up the Devil Peak lore.
Yes.
Because Zach like really honed in on that.
He like leans into that.
I couldn't find anything other than it's, I mean, yes, it is a mountain range with like an ominous name and a primary geological feature that kind of looks spooky. But there really has not been any legend or lore surrounding it. I mean, there are detailed accounts. Oh, no, wait. It says there detailed accounts explaining this designation are scarce. It is common in Native American traditions to associate prominent geological formations with spiritual entities or forces. The term evil spirits in this context may not align with Western notions of malevolence, but could signify powerful, unpredictable, or sacred aspects of the natural world that commanded respect and caution. But in order to get any of those stories, we would have to reach out to the Sinagua people. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, the reliable source of Wikipedia.
Oh yeah,
Devil Peak comes from the mountain's name comes from Native Americans of the area who named the summit dwelling place of the evil spirits.
Yes.
Variant names were Big Devil, Diablo Grande. Doesn't that just mean Big Devil?
Yeah, in Spanish.
Lookout Mountain. Okay.
Lookout.
They don't. There's no explanation to why though. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like really tried to find it.
No, I don't doubt. I wasn't doubting you. I was just curious. I was like, what does it say?
Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
It's a little weird.
Did they have any reported suicides? Because they mentioned it in the episode, but they didn't go over that at all.
Not that I found. The only other thing that was interesting for any of my fellow gamers out there. Oh, actually, it's a show now. So if anybody watched Fallout, did you guys watch the show Fallout on Prime?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, but I've watched my brothers play the video game.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's excellent, the show, in my opinion. Don't hate on me, internet, if you guys disagree. But I've both played Fallout and now watched it. But there's a game called Fallout New Vegas, which is in Nevada, obviously. But there's a casino in the game, and it's called the Vicky and Vance Casino. And it's a 2010 video game, and it is based on Whiskey Pete's. And
oh, really?
Yeah. We can put up a picture. There.
Is it a castle?
Insert
picture here, Lauren. It is a castle. It looks like Whiskey Pete's, and it features the death car of fictional outlaws Vicky and Vance, who are based on Bonnie and Clyde.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
I love that.
That concludes today's episode of This Old Haunt.
Thank you so much, Mel. That was amazing. So Zach and the guys now give us their account on what they think is going on here. So Mel just gave us the actual factual history that she was able to find.
Okay, but I saw the fingerless gloves.
Okay, yes. Lauren, you saw the little fingertips? Little baby fingertip hands.
Yes. I saw the fingertips.
And how did you feel about them?
I just got excited that I noticed it. I was like, fingertips.
Oh, Zak. I really would love to understand. I feel like he's definitely got a lot of like phobias.
But you know what? I totally get it because I'm like right there with him.
Yeah.
With phobias and like scared of flying and stuff. So I'm like,
no, I totally understand it. I also wonder if he's got like a bit of, I was reading on Reddit.
Like
saying,
OCD? Because I'm like that too.
Well, maybe that, but people on Reddit were like, stop diagnosing Zak as autistic because I didn't even finish reading that. Let's be real. It was a notification I got on my phone.
I saw that too.
But I was like, that's true. Like, you can't say what somebody's issues are, but it does sound like maybe he has some OCD. And I think my theory is after years of investigating places and constantly hearing all the different ways people have died and all the things that have happened, like, I think it's kind of messed with him a little bit. Like, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But like Mel said, Whiskey Pete was not, well, you didn't actually say this. I wrote that note because I assumed that Whiskey Pete was not known to be the nicest guy. But you didn't actually find that, did you?
I didn't really find that when he was like, he was rooting his tootiness, blah, 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 and like pulled up these newspaper articles. I didn't really.
Well, Zak made it sound like he wasn't the nicest guy when he died, but we don't know if that's actually true. Zak tells us he asked, like Mel said, to be buried on a mountain nearby, standing up with a bottle of whiskey facing the road so that he could see all the sons of bitches that passed by. Which
sure, Pete.
Mel did not find that phrase.
No clue where that came from.
Yeah.
I also feel like maybe Zak got some of this from like the locals, like maybe some of them were telling him this stuff. So then he tells us about how 30 years ago they built a little train to go across the highway. They discovered a body that they believed to be Whiskey Pete. Zak implies that disturbing his remains angered his spirit, and now he supposedly haunts the hotel and casino that was inspired by him. I put a question mark there because I was like, how convenient for the owners of this place to start a rumor that Whiskey Pete is haunting Whiskey Pete's. Sounds awfully convenient.
What year did they find his body?
It was like 94, I think.
Okay.
Zak says what's more mysterious is that right near the hotel casino is a place called Devil Peak. He tells us that the Paiute, I think that's how you say it. It's Paiute. If I'm not saying it correctly, I apologize. They named that mountain Devil Peak because of the evil spirits. Zak gestures around him and points at the hotel and says, where this, he exclaims, sits in its shadow. And then I believe we went to commercial break. He goes on to tell us that many employees didn't want to talk about their experiences there, which to me was code for no one wanted to be on the show because they really could not get anybody for these interviews. Jay had to tell one of the stories at one point.
Well, also, I mean, the hotel's closed.
Right. Which made me wonder, I'm like, is the area just like, does nobody live there anymore? But like, yes, the hotel is closed, but you would think that people who worked there, I'm sure they would fly them in. Like they've flown psychics in and stuff.
Well, I thought it was really weird that most of the people they did interview had their
faces blurred.
Faces obscured, yeah. Like, why?
Yeah, like it's embarrassing.
Right. They don't want to be associated. But then he did say it had something to do with the contract that they signed for.
Oh, like an NDA?
With the owners of the hotel? Yeah, it was, I don't know. This felt so strange. It did not feel like a normal, like this felt like scraping the bottom of the barrel for Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
He poses the question of whether it is because of the spirit of Whiskey Pete that nobody wanted to be interviewed, or
like Whiskey Pete's gonna come after them,
right?
Like Whiskey Pete's gonna see him on TV.
Yeah, we get
I don't
into
understand. Nothing really matched the energy of that fear.
It was all so confusing. So now we learn that a comedian and supposed legit paranormal investigator, Matt Rife, is joining them. Now, as you all know, I was born in 1985, and I do not know who Matt Rife is, but Mel and Lauren have informed me that he is a hot comedian. I was not very charmed by him, but
he's not charming. That's the opposite of what well, I guess he can be. His whole thing is hecklers. So
that's what I thought that I got. That was implied, I think, in like the way they were talking about it, that like he constantly, like he encourages people to heckle him, I guess.
Yeah, that's like why you go to his show basically to be made fun of. And he's really fucking funny. If you watch his like social and stuff.
I have never actually seen him before, but
yeah, I follow him. I think he's funny. And he like roasts you. Like you have to be ready to be
take fun of
in. Yeah, completely.
So there is a chance by us talking about him, if this were to go viral, which probably will not happen.
Hey,
I
Matt.
doubt.
We will get roasted.
He might roast
Insert
us.
Twinkle noise here when I wink. It was interesting to see this side of him, though. I had no idea he did hundreds of paranormal investigations.
Yes.
I'm curious.
That's cool.
About that side of him. But
I had no idea.
Like on his own?
I guess. I should
So
look into that, yeah.
Well, we'll do it with him.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, Matt, you want to investigate with us?
Yeah.
You can heckle the ghosts.
We roast you on here. You can roast us in person.
So Zak ends this section by telling us that this is going to be one hell of a massive investigation. Because, we need a lot of dramatics to explain how great this will be. He tells us that the intense energy he feels before even entering the building is like Whiskey Pete is watching and waiting for them. So they get ready to head inside the castle, as Zak refers to it, and he tells us that floor 19 is supposed to be one of the most haunted floors. In their research, they discovered that there was a little boy who had been murdered there, as well as a man who had been bludgeoned to death. Zak wonders if Devil Peak and the spirits there could have any effect on these murders.
And the little boy is what Mel reported. The
Yes.
Harris boy, the 7-year-old.
I don't think he was murdered there, though.
No, according to Zak, they say that
they just found his body.
They say his body was found on the property, was how they reported it.
Off property.
That's not what Zak said. That's what I'm saying. They said that he was found on the property. Specifically said that. And I was like,
he was taken from the property, like creepily, like somebody took him.
Yeah, we don't know where he was actually killed. The body was found off
his
property.
body was found off property. Yeah. And I don't think we know who killed him, because I'm assuming the man Howard Lee Hopped that was arrested and then later acquitted was the man he was walking away with. Or maybe he was misidentified and was not that man. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the case, but
if they didn't have DNA back then, so it wasn't like they could find evidence that he, like that even if they suspected that it was that guy who walked away with him, they can't prove that he actually murdered him if they don't have access to DNA and things like that.
Well, they could have evidence that has DNA that they could test now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah,
I don't know.
But what bothered me was Zak wondered if Devil Peak and the spirits there could have any effect on these murders. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, effect on them? Like, now? Like, I don't know. It was a weird way of stating
like,
that.
what is he saying that Devil's Peak is?
He's not. He's saying a bunch of nothing. That was my issue with the episode.
So when I first saw the opening of this episode, I immediately thought, oh, I wonder if there's ley lines in this area. Because usually there's ley lines in a desert.
What is a ley line? Is that earthquake? Like a... Like
It's
a fault
usually
line?
a ley line is usually like where energy is. It's like an extreme.
Oh, okay. Yes, a ley line can refer to two different things: a theoretical invisible line connecting significant landmarks, often with spiritual or magical connotations, and a specific term used in sailboat racing. That's not where I thought that was going.
But there's areas on Earth where there's concentrations of energy, and there's areas where they intersect, and they're called ley lines.
Be it
Yeah.
magnetic energy, electrical energy.
And with what I just Googled, a lot of it is like supposedly it would connect ancient sites or landmarks or something. Like it connects different things all around the world.
Yes.
The
And
lines.
it tends to attract paranormal activity. So it's like portals.
So they begin to enter the casino, and Zak immediately hits us with one of his wonderful bouquet of thoughts. As soon as I step foot inside this massive abandoned casino, I'm hit with an overwhelming sense of emptiness. No one is here.
Shocking. You're hit with emptiness in the empty casino that's empty.
Thank you for stating the obvious.
Profound, Zachary.
He continues on that he feels like he's still being watched, though. He says, "Hello, Whiskey Pete. We're here to see if you would like to talk to us." Zak explains he needs to state his intentions and establish trust with whatever entities may be with them. He says, "I need to draw them closer, not to provoke, but to communicate clearly why we are here." He's learned, guys.
I know.
He's body swapped. That's not Zak.
I know. I saw that. I was like,
establishing trust.
And not to provoke. Not to provoke.
I know. I love that he
so much shit over the years.
Used that word. He definitely has gotten shit for that. So, like we said, not many people wanted to be interviewed for this episode, but we had, I think, 2 actual workers that were interviewed, and then everybody else seemed to just be random paranormal investigators. So the first person we meet, I'm lovingly referring to him as Shadow Man. He is a casino engineer who used to work at Whiskey Pete's. This man chooses to conceal his identity, so we just see someone in the shadows.
They didn't conceal him very well, though.
No.
Did you guys notice that? Like, you can tell he's like a bald man, like a bald white dude
who's a casino engineer. There's probably only like a handful that look like that have worked at Whiskey Pete.
Well, and that live in the town.
Yeah,
everybody knows who it is.
And when they did the wide shot, it was weird how I don't know if they must have done it in post, but they shadowed his face, but not his body.
Yeah.
This dude.
You know that like people in the town were watching this and they were all excited and they're like, isn't that Fred?
Yeah.
From the hardware store?
Well, you know he actually just told his whole family and friends. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be on Ghost Adventures.
I'm the guy in the shadows."
Yeah. And they didn't normally they disguise your voice too, right? They didn't do that.
No, they didn't disguise his voice. So he tells Zak that he was working there when they discovered the remains of Whiskey Pete. He was there when they interned him. So he said that he was there when they dug him up. He was there when they re-interned him, which I had to Google that because I'd never heard that term before, but it just meant reburied him.
Oh, I always thought it was reinterred.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Oh,
I
okay.
wrote that wrong.
Okay.
Not
Sorry.
interned.
I thought it was interred.
That makes a lot more sense. He was there when they re-interred him. So he was there when they buried him. He was there when he was re-interred, reburied. And then they had to bury him a 3rd time. And apparently he was there for that too.
Wait, they fucked it up?
Yeah. So they did it the 3rd time so that they could bury him upright with a bottle of moonshine in his hand and a time capsule at
What
his
the
feet.
fuck is in this time capsule? Did that not
I
throw
know.
anyone else? Like when they did the little illustration of him standing up?
Yeah, I was like,
why?
What is the point of the time capsule?
Are you going to dig him? That means People bury time capsules to dig up again.
That is definitely the plan. You know that this is like a tourist attraction where it was like in 20 years we're going to invite people out to come out for the unearthing of Whiskey Pete and the time capsule, which means he's going to have to be buried a fourth time.
That'd be fucked up.
My God. I'm sorry, Whiskey Pete. Rest in peace.
Wait, so why did they bury him after, like, what was the second fuck up?
I don't know. I just assume they fucked up because why else would you have to do it a third time?
Yeah, we don't know. But
I'd love to know.
My bigger question was, why was the casino engineer at all three of these? The unearthing, the reburying, and reburying again.
Yeah.
Maybe he was obsessed with Whiskey Pete. We don't know. So Zak asks if the man can tell him where the location is that Whiskey Pete is buried. And he says, no, he can't. It's a strange hole.
That was so bizarre.
And Zak says, I've encountered a few of those.
And looks to camera.
I did not catch that he did that.
I was like, okay, I only heard that as a sexual innuendo because he didn't laugh. Like Zak looked at the camera, he didn't laugh he didn't smirk. So I was like, oh, he's trying to say that like in a way where it's like just like in the very first episode of Bob Mackey's, like that tunnel, the portal to hell was like a strange hole. But I was like,
I didn't think of it sexually, which is surprising.
Yeah, no, he looked at camera and was like, and just did like a long stare, like, oh, I've encountered a few of those.
I took it as like, oh yeah, like
I was like, oh my
holes.
God.
No, I didn't take it sexually. That's funny.
I am a 12-year-old, so
no, I did too. I was just like, I can't believe he did that, and he just totally like looked to camera, like, yeah,
that's funny.
Like, are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Exactly. So, like we mentioned before, it seems like nobody wanted to be interviewed for this episode. Because of this, it appears that they took some creative liberty to tell us this story. Yeah. So the next story is about the child abduction, and Zak tells us that Jay is going to tell us the story about the young boy who was kidnapped from the casino's arcade.
I feel like this didn't need to be recreated, just personally.
To set the scene, we see Zak sitting in an arcade machine, like a Mario Kart, or like when you play Mario Kart or Speed Racer and you're like sitting in the machine. I don't know what game it was, but it was like one of those machines that you could sit in, and he was facing
like Cruising World.
Yeah, he's facing.
Wait, why do I know? Zak was.
Yeah, Zak. They were like perpendicular to one another.
It was the most bizarre setup.
And Billy's like this.
So Zak is sitting facing the screen for this game. And then Jay is sitting next to him, but facing him, so perpendicular, and speaking to the camera past Zak. So it's a weird silhouette of Zak. He's not interacting with Jay at all. They're surrounded by red lighting everywhere. The whole arcade is in red. And then there's just the spotlight on Jay's face. I was like,
it was weird.
This is such a strange scene. Zak did not need to be in this scene at all. I don't know why he was there.
But then they actually recreate it too.
Yes, they do a recreation of the abduction, which, didn't need to be done. They explained that in November of 1987, a 7-year-old boy was playing in the arcade when on camera they saw a 35-year-old man walk into the arcade and then escort the boy outside. The boy was found dead. This is what Jay said. The boy was found dead, laying face down out on the property. So now we meet the second former employee of the hotel who needs to have her face blurred. The other guy had to be in the shadows. This person has to have their face blurred. According to Zak, this is due to the contract with the property managers.
Again, her voice is the same.
Yeah. And like you can clearly see, you just can't see her actual face, but you can like see what her hair looks like. And so I'm going to call her the woman with no face. So woman with no face tells them that there is a haunting on the 9th floor and also on the 19th floor. She says that there is something that wanders the 9th floor. She went into a room on the 19th floor and she got cold, very sad feeling, and extremely scared. And then the woman with no face explains that she had never felt anything like that, and she hasn't been back in the casino since that experience until today. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, it's been closed, so it would be weird if you came back.
Exactly. Maybe it was the last day she was there. She felt that.
Yeah.
And now Zak moves on to Celia and John. So many interviews for an episode where nobody wanted to be interviewed.
For real.
So they're supposed to be investigators as well. I don't really understand whether or not Zak knew them before. Do they just live in the area? Like, there was no context or validation of like their paranormal investigating or anything like that. But I guess he did say that they had investigated the hotel before. Celia says that she thinks something followed them home from the casino. She had been literally yanked from the bed. I was like, ew, I do not like that. That's terrifying if that is true.
Yeah.
Like, no. Can you imagine something grabbing your foot in the middle of the night and like yanking you? That's nightmare inducing. John said when he was laying in bed, he saw a black mass above him on the ceiling that was just hovering there. And as soon as it got close to his face, it just disappeared. Zak asks what Celia thinks followed her home. She said it was something oppressive. It made her feel sickly and that she did have some dark thoughts. As soon as she says this, the spotlight that is aimed on her and John turns off. Zak asks...
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Zak asks if the battery died, and the crew hands him the battery to show him that it is fully powered.
What about the power button?
On the battery?
No, on the... Was it just switched off?
Yeah, what if somebody just turned it off? Yeah. Celia says, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, she's really freaked out, especially if she thought something had followed her home. Like, I wouldn't want to be there anymore either.
She really didn't talk about the following her home thing, though. Did she?
Yeah,
I guess that she felt sickly and had some dark thoughts.
Yeah, she felt like something followed her home after she had gotten yanked off the bed. So,
got it.
Who knows? Zak starts wandering around by himself after this. And he offers up more lovely thoughts. You know, we love our Zak thoughts. He says, it's very strange here. You can spend a lot of time walking by yourself and somehow receiving messages translated through the air. It's a different taste. I don't want to do interviews. I don't want to be around the guys. I just want to walk in peace. He says, what's going on is not normal. There are messages in the air and I can feel them. Which I'm like, okay, if you're having an episode where like nothing is happening, the easiest thing to do is to just walk around and tell the camera that you feel things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like, maybe they couldn't get people to participate or be interviewed because like nobody's had experiences.
Yeah. It just kind of seems like nothing really happens here.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not haunted, and
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Zak says, due to how closely casinos guard deaths on the property, there's no telling what happened, who died, and in which room. Which I didn't know that was like a thing about casinos, but I did know that about Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
That Disney World is like super private about people who have died, and like, I don't know, it's something like people won't be pronounced dead until they have left the Disney property or something.
I think that might be a myth.
It's probably a myth,
but there is like a medical facility.
Yeah, it's just so strange. Like, I didn't know that casinos guarded deaths. I thought that was interesting. Zak reminds us that people have had some very serious attachments come home with them and that they need to keep that in mind. So the guys go to the hotel elevator and Aaron gets on, but the door almost squishes Zak because it doesn't have a motion stop on it. Aaron laughs and says, that almost killed you guys.
Okay, one of my fears, because I feel like I live in a Final Destination movie. So
yeah, that's terrifying. How I can't see a log.
And they did the flashback of when he was almost decapitated.
Oh my God, that was terrifying.
I had to pause my TV and like sit in silence for a second after they showed that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Because
producer had to pull him out.
Yeah.
So
I would be terrified too.
So just to describe to everybody, I guess Zak was like filming into like an old elevator shaft, and he was filming like up towards an elevator coming towards him.
So stupid.
Like,
but the elevator wasn't stopping.
Why would it?
Yeah, like, and I guess this was back in 2011, and somebody had to like pull him out of the elevator shaft because it almost killed him. Yeah, like it almost decapitated him. And so
I don't know
they
what
did a flashback.
he was. I don't know what he was thinking. Like I actually happened to pause the TV right after that scene, and I paused like right after Zak had pulled his head out, and you can see the fear on his face. Like you can see like him digesting what just happened.
What could have, yeah. I mean, I paused because I just had to sit with it for
that's crazy.
A moment.
Well, as they exit the elevator, Zak says, if it falls when you're exiting, then you can get chopped in half. And this just reminded me of, this actually happened to a woman in a building
in New York.
Yes, in a building near my office while I was working in New York City. It's not funny. I don't know why. I'm laughing because it's so uncomfortable.
You were there when it happened?
Yes. This happened, it's probably...
at an agency, right?
2010, 2011 maybe, 2012.
I heard about it.
Yeah. I was working a few blocks away and I remember hearing about it, which is terrifying because when you work in New York City, you work in such old buildings. You realize like, oh yeah, a lot of these elevators might not be maintained correctly. But she was getting off the elevator and I believe her heel got caught.
No.
And she was in advertising.
Yeah. And then she got ripped in half, which all I kept thinking was like, can you imagine like, cause the elevator the elevator kept going and like stopped at another floor. And I'm like, can you imagine waiting at that floor and that elevator opens and it's just like a bloody scene and like a body parts?
The thing is the people in the elevator were riding in the elevator with half her body.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. There were other people in there too. I forgot about that. Anyway. Oh, what I was going to say is the other thing I noticed was they didn't have anything to show in this episode. So I felt like that even though this was like very interesting, I felt like they put this in as filler to be like, oh, well, let's just show some of that footage about Zak in elevators. He's scared of elevators. We have that footage. Like, we probably wouldn't have even seen them getting on an elevator otherwise.
Yeah, you're right.
It wouldn't have made the edit.
Yeah. So they start checking out the 9th floor. Billy says, so far, the readings on the tri-field meter are normal at 0.2, 0.3. They have their phones out, but there are no spikes happening on the EMF reader. So I thought that was interesting, that they did have their phones out and there were no spikes happening.
Oh, yeah. Right? I wrote down Billy was also literally using his phone as one of the Rainbow-y cameras. And I'm wondering if that's like an app.
What cameras?
The Rainbow-y camera. Oh. He had like a handheld kind of tripod.
Right.
Yeah, it looked like he was using an app on his phone that turned the camera into full spectrum or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or XLS? That wouldn't make
No, it wasn't XLS. It was just the Rainbow-y bit.
Yeah.
I apologize. I don't know the names.
It's okay. Zak peeks into room 9024, and as he shuts the door, he feels a sudden pain in his chest and says he doesn't feel good. He says, for the first time tonight, I feel the presence of something in the form of a sharp pain in my side. Which I was like, that just sounds like gas.
Agina.
Agina. I'm really starting to wonder if all these things are paranormal or if Zak is a hypochondriac and every little thing that happens in his body makes him think he's close to death, because that's really what it's starting to sound like.
Yeah.
He says he can only describe
like how many times have we gotten gas and we're like, can you imagine us?
Yeah. A woman, just any woman would be like, no, these things happen in my body constantly. Stop panicking.
It's called our period.
Yeah, it's called having a period. It's called being stressed, anxiety. There's lots of things that can cause this.
It's called being married.
He says he can only describe it as a rush of negativity, or the Taco Bell he ate right before this. They continue on floor 9, but don't get any EMF spikes on the reader, so they head to a suite on floor 19. Zak tells us that the energy feels different on floor 19, and that is validated by the EMF reader. They get a 2.6. This time they said, I thought the last time they said milligul.
I did too.
I thought the measurement. This time they said milligat. And I was like, are those different? Yeah, I don't understand the measurements here, but okay. So they get a 2.6 milligat spike and then a spike to 4. They pull out the spirit box and almost immediately we hear a voice, but you can't make out what it's saying. And then they think they hear a kid. But when they turn to Zak, he looks like he's taking a nap standing up. Zak says, Billy notices that I seem to be in a trance. Billy asks, Zak, you okay? Is that a tear in your eye? Are you crying? What is happening? All of a sudden. Oh, you didn't catch that? Yeah. He was I was wondering if he was actually crying, if that was the case. All of a sudden, we hear the kid again on the spirit box. Zak reminds us that Jonathan had heard a childlike voice at the start of their attachment. John had told Zak, I heard a child say, hello. Zak implies that because they caught children's voices and a voice say, you, maybe that was the first voice. This was confusing. They said that they heard a voice that said you, but like I never heard that. I didn't know when they caught that. It was like, I don't know. To me, it was like an edit issue. But he says an attachment is imminent. Like there has to be an attachment that's going to happen because they heard.
I feel like children's they were saying that a lot. Like,
yeah,
hoping something would happen.
They're like, maybe something will attach to us.
Yeah.
They head into the bathroom, which seems so awkward. You literally have to walk through you have to walk through a closet into the bathroom. I was like, this feels like Narnia. Like,
it's very Winchester-y of them.
Yeah. Very strange. I was like, what? How does that work if there's clothes hanging in the closet?
Oh, I have an answer. Pause. Oh. Update from the Winchester house.
Oh,
I have an answer on the one entrance.
Seance room?
One entrance, 3 exits. Yeah.
Oh.
So when I was putting together the episode guide photo thing, there are closets. So the only trapdoor or secret entrance that is truly a secret entrance in the Winchester house exists in the seance room. And if you open the closet, there's a back door exit that has a doorknob, but once you go through it,
you can't go
back in.
Oh.
And it leads into like the other hallway. So that's one entrance, but 3 exits. So there were secret ways out of the seance room. But
and the door would shut behind you, so you could not go back.
So it's all about the doorknobs.
Got it.
Which I found really interesting.
Like, there it is.
I have an update. Quick note. Can you imagine being in the penthouse suite of anywhere and you have to go through the closet to get to the bathroom? And to paint a picture for you guys that aren't watching or didn't watch the episode. It didn't make
any sense.
I'm not talking about like walk-in closet that has a door at the end that happens to be the bathroom. No, this is an old school. It's a very small closet, and then it has the hanger bar with literal empty hangers on it, and they have to duck underneath the hanger bar to get into the bathroom. It really looks like a secret trap
Yes.
door
It
to the
literally
bathroom.
looks like the Chronicles of Narnia. Like you're walking
Yeah.
through the wardrobe and then you're magically in this sad bathroom.
Yeah, that is exactly what it looks like in the Winchester house, though.
True. But my thing is, like, you don't want the bathroom to be in a secret place. Like, you want to be able to quickly find
I'm like, was the door there? And they were like, oh, we also need a closet. Oops, forgot about that in the planning. I have an idea. Let's just put them together.
So the bathroom is super, super strange. But suddenly, Zak leaves the others, and he says he feels repelled by their presence. And he exits the bathroom. He goes and roams around the suite and says he feels something. So he decides to try to communicate with the spirit that he's feeling. We see a side-by-side of Zak's full spectrum camera and Billy's camera aimed at the tri-field meter with the spirit box going. Then you hear Zak say, I don't like to be around those people over there, but I know you are in here. Like, who are you talking to? So Aaron and Billy catch a voice saying, he's there on the spirit box, while the tri-field meter is also catching some spikes. Zak walks back over to the bathroom and they hold the tri-field meter on him and get more spikes. Billy says, you're charged up, dude. As Zak turns to walk back out, the spirit box says, he's out of here.
Finally.
Zak talks to us about how the baseline readings were 0.2 and 0.4 on the 9th and 19th floors. So the readings they were just getting off of the suite were validated, which I'll give him that. Those were the baselines. So if they're getting these higher spikes, that's great. He says, I just felt like something just sucked the life out of me, man, and asks Billy to do a reading on him really quick. Again, the tri-field meter keeps spiking. 2.7, 3.5. I think it gets up to 4 when he aims it at Zak, which could mean that Zak does have an attachment if that's the case. Interesting. So while this is happening, Aaron is capturing Polaroid images, which we will get to later. Okay. Okay. So Zak now introduces us to Matt Rife. As I mentioned before, I know nothing about this guy, but so this is my ignorant interpretation of just meeting him. This is my first impression. He seemed kind of douchey. I could be completely wrong. Zak and Matt don't just fist bump. They also make a boom sound when they do it. Like they're super cool bros. So Matt comes off to me as someone who has been like on YouTube or something for the majority of their life and has forgotten how to just be like a normal person. Like he seems deeply confused about who he is versus who his on-camera persona is. Like they've become intertwined, perhaps. Again, I know nothing about him, but that's just the sense I was getting. I was like, oh, this is like a Gen Z guy.
Yeah. Well, he's not Gen Z. He's definitely millennial.
When is
29? Yeah, he's 29, so he's a millennial.
Is that millennial?
I'm Googling it right now. 28 years old is Gen Z.
He's 29.
Oh, he's 29.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a millennial
He's
Z.
a
zillennial?
is what they call it.
A millennial Z, because I'm real good with my word.
He's a zillennial. Yeah. But I don't know how long. I'm sure he was on YouTube before. I don't know like his full history, but
he grew up in the age of YouTube, which we didn't.
Yeah, that is very well. We did. Mel, okay, so we're dealing with a range of millennial here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us have grown up with YouTube. I definitely did not. I am not a YouTube person. I
mean, when I say grown up with YouTube, I grew up with college humor videos.
I was going to say
and going to funny, E-Bombs
World,
Funny or Die. So I still like went there for funny videos before YouTube.
He comes off to me as like a Jake Paul, Logan Paul kind of guy. Okay, so Zak asks if he's ready, and he says he's terrified. And then they fist bump again, and they say, power knuckles. What the fuck is happening?
Power knuckles. I mean, yeah, you're not like wrong about him, but I will say, to me, I was shocked. Not shocked, but surprised by his persona here than his persona on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he'd be more of a shit talker. If anything,
like to the ghost.
It kind of seemed like Zak. No, to Zak and them. Like his whole thing is like giving people shit. But I guess it makes sense if that's not what he does at all times. But to me, it seemed like Zak was desperately clinging to his youthful self by trying to be cool.
Definitely.
With Matt. And that was a little painful to watch.
Yeah. Oh my God. So much so.
Well,
Zak
also Matt's in Zak's territory, not vice versa. So I can understand if Matt's not shit talking Zak, you know?
Right. Zak introduces Matt to Jay, and Matt says, "Okay, dibs on Jay for the night." The guys all start
laughing. What
does
that mean?
Yeah, the guys all start laughing. They're like, "Whoa, what does that mean?" And I said, Matt is like, no, it's because he has the light. That's all, bros. No homo.
Wait, he said no homo?
No, that's the sense that I got from it.
Oh, I was like, he said that?
That was the vibe.
That was the vibe. That was the
like,
vibe.
Whoa, I'm not gay, man. I'm not gay. I swear I'm not gay. That's not what I meant. Zak,
that was the vibe though.
Zak explains that Matt is not a noob. He's done hundreds of investigations, and that Zak and Matt investigated together at Zak's museum.
I would feel so weird investigating at that museum.
Yeah.
Can you guys imagine if I was like, hey, do you want to come in this room that I put together and turn all the lights off and just see what happens? You know? Obviously, it's a little different from that exact scenario.
Not even. It's even worse than that because he's like, okay, do you guys want to come into this room I have? It has all of my dolls. Like, we can...
my closet.
We can play with my dolls and sit in the dark and tell ghost stories.
It's like, hey, kid, you want a piece of candy?
So they review the voices that they picked up earlier with Matt, and they think one of them is saying, "I poop."
Oh my God, that was hilarious.
So some high school humor for you, middle school humor.
Maybe the ghosts were trying to be funny because Matt was there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This gives everybody a good old belly laugh.
Mm-hmm.
They continue listening, and there are 2 recordings that Zak thinks could be a spirit mimicking his voice. One where they think it's saying "kids back," and another where they catch the word "you." He thinks
I don't understand any of those EVPs.
No, this is such a wild stretch. What happens here? So there's those 2. Yeah, there's those 2 EVPs. I didn't hear anything saying "kids back." I heard something maybe sounded like the word "you," but he thinks that something was mimicking his voice.
I didn't hear that either.
Which I was like, that just sounds like a man. It didn't sound like Zak. And then
I didn't understand how it was supposed to sound like him.
He thinks it sounds like him. Like that was it. I didn't hear it. But then he thinks because it was mimicking him and it was caught while they were also catching the kids' voices, that it's the same kind of attachment that Celia and John brought home with them.
Did they say that what was attached to them was a mimic?
No. They didn't say that at all.
So why would that mimic be what was attached to him?
Because Zak likes to make wild connections. Synchronicities, if you will.
But to go off of that, why would a mimic be the same entity if what attached to the paranormal investigators was not a mimic? Like, why would they're not the same type of entity?
Like, exactly. 1,000%. None of it makes sense. He's just he's grasping at straws here. Like, this is the first episode that we've really watched where I'm like, what is even happening right now? Zak thinks it was a spirit warning them about a darker spirit hiding somewhere in the suite when they think that the voice said he's hiding. And I'm like, why? Again, where are you getting that from? Like, what does that have to do with anything? So Zak tells Matt he's going to take him over to Nerve Center for what he's calling a little initiation. Matt says, "Hey man, blink when you're talking to me," which made me laugh. I was like, that was funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to this investigation.
He is really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's very funny.
I want to like watch his comedy now and see what he's about.
I'll send you guys something next time I see it, but he's funny.
So as they enter the building, they leave X cams rolling on the main floor and head up to Nerve Center on the 18th floor. We see the guys broing out together. Matt is trying to use hand warmers and curses a few times. Zak's like, "Whoa, we're going to need a lot of bleeps for this episode." Matt asks what the curse limit is, and Zak's like, "We don't have one." So awkward. Then Zak says, "We know who the real men are here, using hand warmers for our interior investigation." Matt says, "I shaved my chest for this man." Everyone laughs. Zak says, "I shaved my balls." And nobody laughs.
God.
I thought I heard him say that, and then it like nothing. It was like awkward and quiet, and I was like, "Wait, did somebody just say they shaved their balls?"
It was so uncomfortable. And then they left it in. I was like, this is so awkward.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Zak tells Matt about Celia's attachment, and Matt seems a bit concerned. Zak tells him to be careful how much you open yourself up to this place. Matt says, "Shut the door. Got it." Once in Nerve Center, Jay tells the guys that he's been hearing strange noises coming from the 19th hallway. He says it was a bunch of really loud boom, boom, boom sounds. They all start listening. They keep hearing the sound, but then they suddenly start hearing some whistling.
It was really clear.
Yeah, it was very clear. Matt, Billy, Aaron, and Zak all rush up to the 19th floor to try to capture whatever it is.
Hold on. The whistling, just a little aside story for me really quick. Whistling is so creepy, obviously. One of the creepiest things I encountered was I was working late one night and I was walking it to my car in the parking deck by myself, and somebody was whistling Lady Gaga Bad Romance, which sounds comical now, but if you think about yourself walking alone to your car, you just hear, yeah, that's what he was doing. It was just, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
That's terrifying.
Who knew it could be so creepy, but in whistle form? Many a song.
That is so creepy.
I just had to throw that in there really quick because that's what I think of when.
Right. So Matt,
funny.
Billy, Aaron, and Zak all rush up to the 19th floor to try to capture what's going on. We get night vision footage of Zak and Matt walking down the hallway together, side by side. They lead Matt back into the bedroom of the suite, and then Zak shuts the door and says, "Initiation time." This is so corny.
And then it's locked.
Yeah.
He holds the door shut, but he quickly
No, it ended up being locked.
I know. He holds the door shut like he thinks he's playing a prank on Matt. But Zak quickly realizes that the door is locked from the other side. So they start freaking out that the door is locked. But it's a bedroom door. So, of course, Matt's still able to open the door from the other side. Because, like, that's how locks work for bedroom doors. Like, Zak really thought he had this figured out. So sad. I don't think it went as planned for Zak. So they don't find anything in the suite. Again, there's really nothing happening here. So they head down the hallway. Zak says, Maybe they need a little shit talk out here. Matt asks him if he's ever tried being charming.
What happened to establishing trust?
Right. And also...
And not provoking.
Yeah.
Because Zak can't help but be himself, which is very provocative. As they head down the hallway, Matt catches a stick figure on the right side of the XLS camera. It was large, almost looked like it was up against the wall or something. They don't find what they are looking for, so they randomly decide to head down the 6th floor. As they're walking through the hallway, they stumble upon what, to me, I thought was like a random crystal ball mysteriously sitting in the hallway.
That was what I thought, too. I was like, why is there a crystal ball in the hall?
This is creepy until I found out that they placed it there because it was a EMF reader or something. They walk into a room and Aaron starts using the spirit box to ask questions. As he does this, Matt catches a black mist of some sort on the XLS camera, consuming Aaron. And then for a split second,
it kind of consumes the whole room,
like the whole left side of him. Yeah.
So I did look up the XLS and if there's how it could possibly malfunction. So it has a certain light spectrum that it needs in order to work. Its whole goal is to capture human bodies. Like that was what it was designed to do.
Right.
So it will
the Xbox used to use it. Or I don't know if it still does.
They are mostly, my research said they are mostly modified versions of the Xbox Kinect is what it stems from, the tech. And because the Kinect was trying to find bodies, the device can and will try to find bodies in things that it thinks is it at first. So say there's like a lamp or a reflection on a screen or something that could be perceived as an arm, it'll start to form a body there from that and then realize it's not it without the correct amount of light. So I was like, okay, has anybody ever tested this in like bright daylight? But there are less forms that show up in daylight because it's too bright. It needs lower light to function. So there's an ideal spectrum. There's an ideal spectrum of light in which to use this device to get the most accurate readings. But what is most likely happening? So I'm now paying attention. Like, oh, okay, where is it popping up? This was the other thing. It malfunctioned so much that Xbox discontinued it because of that reason.
What you can explain is like sometimes we'll see like figures hovering near the ceiling, and that's creepy because there's nothing up there that should trigger it to be looking for something. Whereas like the TV, I could see it. So
I mean, usually though, when something appears, we'll usually see if there's like a lamp there. We're not like mistaking a figure for a lamp.
Well, no, I don't mean
she's saying that the technology may be mistaking the lamp as a figure
or a leg, and then
it's interpreting it as a stick figure.
Yeah, because that's all it does is create stick figures. It doesn't create like the shape of a bush. I don't know why it's like it only creates
a stick figure.
Body shapes is what it's trying to do. That's its sole purpose.
Right. Well, so when this is happening, so this all happens. We see this mist, and then Aaron shouts, "I swear to God, something just tugged on my camera, bro."
Yeah. But I was going to say, the ones where the figure's there for a longer period of time, I guess that's
harder to explain.
But the flashes, I think that's the thing.
We do see a figure kind of high up on the wall over the TV hovering, but I'm wondering now if it was catching the reflection of Aaron in the TV, and that's why the figure was up higher.
Yeah, it's a reflective surfaces. TV. So I think this is one, if we can test it, I'd be really interested to test the range of light in which
Yeah.
I want to get an XLS camera.
Yeah.
We need to start monetizing before we can
So I was hesitant to bring it up because I was like, oh, does this kind of ruin the fun?
No, but the whole point is
but that's the point. So yeah. So that's what I found.
Yeah, but reflections are interesting though.
Reflections are very interesting of the people.
And there's still been plenty of these figures caught on camera that are not in a reflection or a lamp or like these other things that it could interpret. So then that would make me pay closer attention to those moments. You know?
Especially ones that are on the ceiling.
Yeah. So we now cut to Jay back in Nerve Center, who again hears whistling in the hallway on the 19th floor. Back on the 6th floor, the guys are debating where a camera is when they start hearing something behind them. There's a door behind them and it's cracked open, and they realize that the chain that would be used to hold the door closed was lightly swinging. And so they were hearing like the tapping of it moving. There were no fans or AC and no windows open, so this was a little odd. And then they do a replay where the door was cracked open just enough so that you can see it, and you do see the chain like rapidly swinging back and forth inside the room. But I'm also wondering, like,
did somebody hit the door?
Did somebody hit the door, or did their movement in the hallway cause it to start moving? I don't know.
Yeah, the chain was weird.
The gentlemen now head to the 9th floor. Zak starts getting aggravated because he's not receiving activity, so he kicks a door open. So aggressive for no reason. In this room, they have the stupid isolated video loop camera set up. This pissed me off beyond recognition. You know, I already do not like this thing. I don't understand how it works.
Fucking thing.
Sketch,
yes,
or like whatever.
So stupid.
They notice that it's filled with rainbow colors and repeating black lines. They say, "Whoa, it didn't look like that when we left." Billy tells Zak that when he set it up, he challenged the spirits to use it like an Etch-a-Sketch and create whatever they wanted to. So they rewind back to when Billy and Aaron were setting up the camera, and Zak tells us that at that time, the isolated video loop seemed to manifest into hard eye roll here. I'm sorry. I can't. Appeared to be the profile of a Native American woman. I don't know how they got that from what we were looking at. I understand that they took what they were looking at and then reverse engineered it into being a Native American woman, but that you still have not shown me how this isolated video loop thing works. I've never understood that. Am I supposed to be seeing the shape of a figure or something in the middle of it? Like, now all of a sudden you're telling me that what I'm looking at is supposed to be the shape of a figure, and it says.
Well, also now you're telling us that the spirits can manipulate it.
Yeah, that's how it. I guess now I think it is like an Etch-a-Sketch that they can draw on if they want to.
It just seemed like such a loose interpretation. Zak says, "This is truly remarkable." I'm sorry, it is not remarkable at all to me. They try to say that like it's forming feathers for her headpiece, and I was like,
not all Native Americans wore headpieces.
No, exactly. There's only like one tribe that wore the feathered hair pieces, so I don't understand it. This just seemed like a load of BS to me. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, of course, Zak doesn't feel well in this room because he's always a hypochondriac. So he goes back into the hallway. Billy puts the camera on him and it immediately stops working. Finally, they get something on the spirit box. It's a woman's voice saying, "Connection." I don't know if you guys caught this, but it sounded like Siri to me, or like Alexa. Like it sounded like an artificial voice. It didn't sound like it was actually a person.
I heard action, not connection. But
I don't know.
That's funny.
Like, were they using AI? Like, what is happening here? Then we hear a man's voice, but it's hard to understand what he says. They think maybe it said he's 20, referring to Matt. Zak says, could this be two spirits talking about Matt? The female saying she has a connection to him, then a jealous male spirit telling her he only looks 20?
I mean, that's a hilarious ghost exchange. If so, she's like, "Hey, he's hot."
That is also, you
Her
got
ghost daddy's like, "He's 20. You're
got
382, Sarah."
But you got 3 words. Connection, he's 20. And this is the interpretation that you made from that. So stupid. When they review the X cams that were set up downstairs, they catch a shadow walk. This to me was creepy.
That was scary. That was the scariest part.
Before you say it was a PA, he does. Okay, so they catch a shadow person walking past a light in the distance of the casino. It looks like the shape of a person or a man to me. But what was interesting was that there was another light right next to it, and you don't see this figure walk in front of it. And it was moving very quickly, so you would have seen it pass in front of that other light. So
I mean, as long as it wasn't like a moth in front of the camera that went like zoo zoo.
Oh no, it was big.
No, it was the shape of a person. Like it looked like a person in the distance. But I thought you were going to say it was like actually a human.
That was all. I mean, it never touched the second light, and it.
Yeah.
I mean, out of everything in this episode, that was the one thing that I was like, oh, okay, that could actually have been something. Like that to me seemed like the most legitimate thing. So
yeah, that was super creepy.
But Zak, of course, has to take this one step too far and says, could this be the spirit of Whiskey Pete? Where has Whiskey Pete been all night? Where has he been?
Well, he's been walking back and forth, apparently.
Apparently. They head back to Nerve Center and are unable to determine what caused the whistling sounds that Jay was hearing. Zak starts feeling uneasy again. I'm so over Zak not feeling good. So he turns on the APFD processor, which shows the waveforms coming from the spirit box.
This thing's cool. Why don't they always use this so we don't have to hear the annoying
spirit box? Yeah.
Yeah. So to explain what this is, the APFD processor allows them to connect other ITC devices to it, and it can track the waveform, and it also silences it except for what it catches. So you don't have to hear the like that they
It's like they jailbroke the spirit box.
Yeah, exactly.
Jailbreaking your phone and
yes. So Zak asked what floor they should go to, and we hear a voice clearly say, "Everyone."
Everyone.
They were like, "Whoa, everyone!" Aaron pulls out the Polaroid photos from earlier, and he shows them one that looks like a figure sitting on the floor in a hallway, just like Zak was.
Really
earlier.
creepy.
Yeah.
The creepy figure sitting there was weird.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was also confused.
I mean, there was no explanation for that.
Polaroid it was. I don't know what Polaroid pulls up Is it different Polaroid from a Polaroid? I didn't know they made other kinds.
It has to do with, I guess it's a different type of Polaroid camera, but it is like a long exposure. Polaroid, I think. Yeah.
Because he kept saying the more it develops, the more freaked out he was, or the less, I don't know. But he talked about it. It still develops.
It's just,
Yeah, they weren't fully developed when they were
looking at them.
First looking at him, but that part confused me.
Guys, this episode just exhausted me. I don't know what this was. But that was the end of this wonderful episode. So what do you guys think? Haunted or hoax?
I'm gonna go hoax.
I think like 10% haunted. 10% haunted.
I don't know what it would be haunted by.
I will go hoax. I think this was a lot of trick of the camera, a lot of Zak not feeling. Zak, if you look at my notes, I wrote down Zak said he doesn't feel good like 6 times. Okay, maybe not 6, but like 4 times. And I'm like, oh my God, how many times are you going to pull this card? Like,
Yeah.
it felt like there was just nothing happening. And I really I could have done without this one. So
Yeah.
I'm
It felt like
hoping.
the only thing that really happened was when they were in Nerve Center and they were like, we're hearing things.
I mean, we
I
did
think
hear a
like
whistling.
you can't explain the whistles.
No.
The shadow.
Well, he called out the whistles at the end. I did appreciate that. He was like, we're ruling this out as evidence because
We
this
can't
building
say.
has however many floors. We can't say that there's not a cracked window open, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I'm saying for myself, though, it sounded like a person, like, I
Whistling.
think it sounded like whistling.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like it didn't sound like a passive whistle. It sounded like a,
right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. Oh God, guys. I think that they're losing their
edge.
They're losing their edge, yeah. And also just how cringy it was to watch Zak try to be cool in front of
just
Matt
be yourself,
Rife.
buddy. Just be yourself.
Like Matt, Zak, we appreciate you for who you are. You don't need to try to be a young kid. It's okay.
It's okay. You were young and hot once too. Just remember that. Well, I mean, you're not my type, but you know.
I think that's Charlie's.
Oh, okay.
Glitchy.
Oh no, it's on me and Lauren, guys. Charlie had some technical difficulties right at the end there, so we're gonna sign us off. So until next time,
see you in the shadows.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Paranormal Playback. Please share, subscribe, and review. If you want to engage with us on the socials, we are at Paranormal Playback. And if you would like to email us your own ghost story, add the words ghost story to the subject line and send it to paranormalplaybackpod@gmail.com. See you next time.